We obviously dealt with some injuries throughout the season on both the men's and women's side. Just give us an update. How's everybody looking heading into the postseason competition now?
Well, at this stage of the game, we're just trying to make sure that everybody's ready. There's some little nagging things that they've been dealing with. Some people, it goes away, it comes back. And so we're just trying to manage it as we see it right now. It's a really young team, a lot of freshmen, a lot of even sophomores. We don't have a lot of leaders, older leaders on the team. So being so heavy youth like that, it's a tough transition for those kids. It's a lifestyle sport. So we're up early in the morning practicing. It's just unforgiving. The sport is just super unforgiving. So there's definitely that learning curve where they're trying to figure it out and how to best manage themselves and their lifestyle in order to be conducive to running well. So we know that going in, even from day one, we preach it, but it's something that they have to learn, have to go through it. So we're doing the best we can with that. Of course, we like things to be better than it is. We want everybody healthy. It's just, you're not just going to bat 1,000 every time out. So, but I think all things considered, we'll be ready and we'll have the pieces in place to compete as well as we can. And again, everything's still up in the air with some people here and there, but it seems like that's always the case in every cross-country season. But we're managing it as best as we can, and we're being positive about it. And I think this year we've done a much better job. I've done a much better job of just kind of catching it early. They tend to want to tough things out and just being able to be proactive and make some sacrifices early on. I think it's led to where now we're in a situation where the things are just very minor at best. So I think we'll be fine. Yeah.
And throughout the regular season, you competed in 4 meets before getting into conference play now. What are your kind of takeaways? What have you seen from both the men's and women's side throughout the regular season competition?
I feel like with the men, since again they were really young and a lot of them hadn't experienced racing the AK, and I know that's a common thing in college sports, especially college cross country, is just like that transition to competing in college. And for us, it's the AK, and it's just being able to handle that longer distance. At first I tend to kind of let kids race how they feel they'd want to do it. I let them kind of have their own accountability on how they want to address it. I don't want to get too in their head right away or just try to nitpick too much, because I don't want them getting too here and there in their mind and just having things playing out too much. So but then as they race, I get to kind of give them some subtle changes and subtle cues on what they can work on. And so as you can see throughout the season, they've progressively kind of gotten better at it. Again, we haven't had everyone racing at every meet, and it's vital to try to get in as many of those races as possible. But now they're starting to kind of catch their groove and see what they need to do and how to approach it. And again, first year, there's no guarantee that we're going to figure it out in that first year. I've learned to accept that as a coach. A lot of times kids, sophomore years, they really start to catch a stride with that. So even on our older guys, they're having little injuries here and there. I mean, Clint had an injury early in the season. Dedrick has an injury now. So we're just trying to manage those things and understand that it's just unavoidable. But I think that what I'm seeing is that they should be prepared to have their best race, all things considered, than they've had all year. And as far as the women, what I see out of them is just we're led by a couple of really strong runners consistently. But we have interchangeable pieces. There's just more depth to the women's team than ever before. And I'm confident that, hey, when we do deal with little injuries in the past, that would just break us. If one person was out, we were crushed. But now it's like, if something happens to one person, which is going to happen, we're fine. There's another person that can kind of carry the load. The young kids are stepping up. And again, I think a lot of that is because they don't have to transition much. I mean, 5K to 6K, it's not that big of a jump. And most of the year is 5K anyway. So their transition is a little smoother. They feel a little more confident, and they can step up when they need to. So young kids can definitely contribute right away, a little bit better on the women's side than men. But I'm confident that both teams are looking really good right now and ready to compete.
And now that we've progressed throughout the regular season, heading into this conference championships, what are kind of your expectations, goals for the teams on Saturday?
It's kind of tough because you never know what exactly you're going to get out of the conference. I've seen a lot of improvements in quite a few teams compared to last year. I know COVID kind of shook things up with a lot of schools. Some of them, their approach was mostly about keeping their kids healthy, and same thing over here. So I expect, as far as with the women's team goes, regardless of what the course layout's like, as far as how they're going to compete, their average 6K they're going to be putting themselves in a better position to compete higher than they've ever done. So again, if everyone in the conference gets better, then maybe they don't place as high as we'd expect. But as far as you compare them to last year's team, totally different team, so much stronger, so much better. Whatever one or two people were doing last year for the team, we have 6 girls that can do it now. So, and even now we have kids that are elite to where they can compete for the top 5, top 10 places in the conference individually. I think our first person last year was maybe in the 40s. So that will probably be where the last person finishes versus the first. So, on the men's side, again, we're young. We're trying to figure stuff out. I think that at the least we'll be able to compete where we did last year, hopefully a little better. We did lose our top runner in Emerson Wells, so there's always a lot to fill in those gaps. But I think that those guys are going to fight for me. They're going to do the best they can, and we're just going to keep building from there. So I'm excited for it, and I'm ready to get it going. So.